Welcome to the Grimdark Chronicles. Something of mystery, an information repository, and a place of history and bygone times. With the archival world of Calliope lost to heretical treachery, now only a few data repositories remain. Servitors, the lobotomized laborers. Servitors are the ultimate expression of the Imperium's dehumanization of its citizens. They are cyber drones created by surgically and mechanically modifying humans and erasing their individuality. The process begins with brain lobotomization, where personality, memories, and free will are stripped away. Mechanical augmentations replace arms, legs, or even internal organs, tailored to the specific tasks the servitor will perform. These individuals are condemned to this fate for reasons ranging from criminal behavior to simple administrative error, as the Imperium views servitorization as both punishment and a resource optimization. The tasks assigned to servitors are those deemed too dangerous, menial, or repetitive for valuable humans. In Forge worlds, servitors operate within vast manufactorums where they tirelessly handle molten metals, maintain machinery, or manage hazardous chemicals. On starships, they crawl through irradiated plasma conduits, repair exterior hull breaches in the vacuum of space, or manage the mind-numbing operations of void shield controls. A notable example is the servitors of the Macragge's Honor, who perform routine maintenance under battlefield conditions, enduring extremes no human crew member could survive. Even more horrifying is the possibility that some remnants of the individual's original personality may remain. Fragmented memories or emotions may surface, causing moments of hesitation or flashes of recognition, though the servitor cannot act on these impulses. This phenomenon is most commonly observed in servitors created from psychers or exceptionally strong-willed individuals. Such vestiges of awareness are a torment, as the trapped mind experiences the horror of its condition without any means of escape or expression. Servitors are omnipresent in the Imperium, a grim testament to humanity's desperation and pragmatism in the face of extinction. While the Imperium relies on servitors to sustain its vast operations, their existence raises profound moral and ethical questions, though such concerns are dismissed as heresy. Their lifeless eyes and mechanical movements are reminders of what awaits anyone who fails the Imperium's unyielding demands. Penal legionnaires, disposable soldiers. Penal legionnaires are the Imperium's ultimate expendable soldiers, drawn from the dregs of its massive penal system. These individuals are condemned criminals, political dissidents, or even those guilty of minor infractions that have been blown out of proportion by the Imperium's ruthless judicial system. Once inducted, they are stripped of their names, tattooed with identification numbers, and fitted with explosive collars. These collars serve as a constant reminder of their subservience, detonating instantly if they attempt to flee or disobey orders. Their missions are nothing short of suicide. Penal legionnaires are sent to clear minefields, assault heavily fortified positions, or serve as distractions for more valuable forces. During the Siege of Vrax, Penal legionnaires were deployed in endless waves to draw fire from Chaos defenders, their lives bought in inches of progress. Another infamous operation occurred on the Death World Catachan, where legionnaires were used to bait feral orc tribes into ambushes, often with no weapons beyond knives and clubs. The psychological burden of this role is immense. Most legionnaires know that survival is not expected or desired. Those who manage to live through a mission are simply sent to the next suicidal engagement. Some cling to faint hopes of redemption, as rare cases like Captain Shadrach prove that battlefield heroics can occasionally earn a pardon. However, such cases are exceedingly rare, and most legionnaires meet their end in anonymity, their bodies often recycled into corpse, starch, or harvested for servitorization. The Penal legions epitomize the Imperium's disregard for individual life. To the Imperium, these men and women are tools no different from the weapons they wield. Their suffering and sacrifice are justified as necessary for the survival of the human race and ethos that defines life in the 41st millennium. Astropaths, the psychic communicators. Astropaths are indispensable to the Imperium's function, acting as living relays for interstellar communication. Their unique psychic abilities allow them to send messages across the vast distances of space by projecting their minds into the warp. However, this vital role comes at a horrifying cost. Each astropath must undergo a soul-binding ritual, where their mind is psychically linked to the Emperor of Mankind. This process grants them protection against the malevolent entities of the warp, but often leaves them blind, deformed, or mentally scarred. The soul-binding process itself is a brutal ordeal. Survivors often emerge with burns, bleeding eyes, or shattered psyches. Despite this, their true suffering begins when they begin their duties. Every transmission exposes the astropath to the chaotic energies of the warp, where daemons constantly prowl for weaknesses. A famous example is the Magister Astra, where an astropathic error led to a daemon invasion that claimed the lives of the entire crew. Such risks are routine, and most astropaths know their careers will end in death or madness. The constant exposure to the warp leaves astropaths physically and mentally deteriorated. They suffer from chronic pain, hallucinations, and paranoia. Many are ostracized aboard Imperial ships, as superstition and fear of psychers make them unwelcome among the crew. Their isolation only exacerbates their suffering, leaving them to endure their torment in silence. Despite their sacrifices, astropaths are rarely acknowledged for their contributions. Their deaths are accepted as part of the Imperium's grim calculus. Yet, without them, the vast machinery of the Imperium would collapse, as their psychic transmissions are the only means of communication between distant star systems. They are both vital and tragically expendable. Geller Field Attendants, guardians of warp travel. The Geller Field is one of the most vital technologies in the Imperium, providing protection for ships traveling through the warp. Without it, the chaotic energies of the warp would breach the vessel, subjecting the crew to daemonic horrors beyond imagination. Geller Field Attendants are tasked with maintaining these systems, but the conditions they work under are extraordinarily dangerous. The generator rooms where Geller Fields are housed are often irradiated, poorly ventilated, and prone to sudden, catastrophic failures. Workers are exposed to plasma leaks, electrical discharges, and intense heat, all while ensuring the field remains stable. A malfunction can have catastrophic consequences, as evidenced by the Iron Resolve, where a Geller Field collapse allowed daemons to overrun the ship. The attendants who attempted to repair the field were torn apart, buying just enough time for the survivors to activate and emergency jump back to real space. Beyond the physical hazards, the proximity to the warp has a psychological toll. Attendants report hearing whispers or seeing shadowy figures near the generator, phenomena dismissed as hallucinations caused by warp residue. Over time, these experiences often lead to paranoia, insomnia, and eventual madness. Many attendants take their own lives rather than continue working under such conditions. Despite their critical role, Geller Field Attendants are treated as expendable. Their deaths are seen as an acceptable cost of warp travel, and replacements are drawn from Penal workers, press, ganged civilians, or servitors. Their sacrifices, while essential to the survival of their shipmates, are rarely acknowledged, reflecting the Imperium's unyielding pragmatism. Corpse starch processors, the morbid sustenance providers. In the overcrowded hive cities of the Imperium, where starvation is a constant threat, the dead are repurposed into corpse starch, a nutrient-dense paste distributed as rations. The workers who operate corpse starch factories are tasked with handling and processing the deceased into consumable products, an occupation as horrifying as it is essential. The factories are industrial slaughterhouses, where bodies are collected, stripped of usable material, and rendered into paste. Workers labor amidst the stench of decay, surrounded by grinding machinery that often injures or kills them. Exposure to biohazards such as disease or chemical contaminants is a daily risk. A notable incident occurred on Necromunda, where a corpse starch plant experienced a contamination outbreak that led to a hive-wide epidemic. The psychological toll of this work is equally devastating. Many workers must process the remains of friends, family, or neighbors, turning loved ones into food. Over time, they become desensitized or succumb to madness. Unable to reconcile the dehumanization inherent in their task, workers who fail to perform efficiently are often executed, their bodies added to the production line as a grim warning to others. Despite the horrors of their occupation, corpse starch workers are an integral part of the Imperium's survival. Without them, billions in the hive cities would starve, leading to widespread uprisings. Their sacrifices, like so many others in the Imperium, are a grim necessity in a galaxy where resources are perpetually scarce.